KDKR Decatur, Dallas, Fort Worth, KYJC Commerce, KMWC Bethany. Portions of KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, our vehicle safety inspection's going away. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Good afternoon, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. Tony Joe's here with me, as he is every Friday, to take your Car Corner questions. We do open up the lines, and we do take callers' questions. 877-913-5357 is the number to call, and we do have a line open right now if you'd like to call in and grab that line. We can also, if you got a question for me, please go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. At the top of the page, it's on the bar there, it says ask a question. Please send your questions in. I love to get them. If you need some advice on something, want to know your options, I've got an opinion, would love to help you if I can. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. 1-877-913-5357 is the number to call, and we do have a line open. Tony Joe, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. And by the way, when you mentioned the Prudent Money website, and you said call me, and I can give you your opinion.
Yes.
Your opinion.
Yes.
I can do the same. I can also offer up an opinion. Nobody may want it, but I'm just throwing that in there. If you want to call me and say, what do you think about this? I'll give you my opinion.
You've opinionated?
It'd be about like me calling you for opinion on what do you think's wrong with this car. But I'm just saying,
So you're saying that, the problem with
I will offer.
The problem with emails for you is that
there's that email thing.
There's the question kind of comes in, and then you read the question and go, well, I've got 12 other questions that I need to ask now. It's not always easy to get emails answered. But if you do have a question for Tony Joe and you do want to go that route, you are more than welcome to do so. That's off the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Tony Joe, I got to tell you something. There's some things in life that just don't make sense. And this is one of them. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to pause a few places in this press release to ask you some questions and get your feedback. The Texas Department of Public Safety reminds Texans of upcoming changes to the state's vehicle safety inspection program that will eliminate most vehicle safety inspections. Now, I'll let that one sink in for a second. That will eliminate most vehicle safety inspections.
And what is the company? What is the title of the State Department that's putting this out?
The Texas Department of Public Safety.
Of vehicle inspection, right?
Right.
Of safety inspections.
Yeah, that just made my head hurt right there. Okay, so this says House Bill 3297, which was passed by the 88th legislature and signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott in 2023, abolishes the vehicle safety inspection program for non-commercial vehicles. Well, at least they're inspecting commercial vehicles. I guess that's a good thing. And I'm assuming, does that include the big 18-wheeler trucks?
It does, right.
That's a commercial vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
anything over a certain weight is considered a commercial vehicle.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Why in the world does this make sense?
Well, it doesn't make sense, and I never thought it did from the day we started hearing whispers through the grapevine about it. And I want to point out one thing that always occurs to me, and maybe you can help me, maybe you can disagree or tell me why I'm wrong, but the vehicle, first of all, we need to go back for the people that don't know all the facts about the safety inspection program. Number one, you could have a car that's over 25 years old right now, and you would only be required a portion of the state inspection. And that part is called the safety inspection. When you get a vehicle inspected, you get a safety inspection, and then you get an emissions inspection. Now, everybody knows what the check engine light is, hopefully. And the check engine light, funny thing, the check engine light will only come on for one reason and one reason only, and that is anything that alters the tailpipe emissions or anything that makes the car pollute. So, you go back to the safety portion, you pay $7, you get the tires, wipers, headlights, emergency brakes, tail lights, signal lights. You get all the safety inspection part of your car, which means that these are the things that make it somewhat safe to drive down the road. Then you get the emissions part, which includes checking the computer for codes, making sure that there's no problems in the computer system, that the car is running within its design limits for pollution or tailpipe emissions, whichever way. And the total is $25.50, and you get both of those functions done. Both of those programs are performed. So if you have a car that's 25 years or older, you no longer need the inspection part that requires the check engine. It only requires...
That's the way the rules are today?
Yes.
Okay.
So that car that's 25 years or older only requires the safety portion. The tires, headlights, and blah, 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 okay? It doesn't require the check engine light thing.
The emissions.
Emissions.
Okay.
And the price of that is only $7. So just to point out the two differences so people understand what the program involves, as of 2025, they're going to do away with the safety portion. The safety portion of the inspection. They're only going to require the emissions portion. So the point of me going a long way around, Bob, is I want your opinion on this too. We have the emissions program in Collin, Dallas, Tarrant, and Denton counties because those four counties are called non-attainment counties. They have to meet certain requirements from the vehicles because those are highly populated counties that require pollution controls. They don't want to pollute. So these highly concentrated, and there's lots of them, San Antonio, Bexar County, big cities, all have these programs. So if you think about it, to me, who cares about air pollution if the state is going to do away with a program but keep one portion of that program? It occurs to me, or at least seems likely, that it's got to involve the federal government because which department cares about air pollution? It's the EPA. So they're keeping this portion, which I kind of relate to kind of federal pressure or federal program, federally influenced, I should say. Yet the state itself wants to do away with the safety portion. Now, I may be wrong, but the last I knew, a state like Oklahoma didn't have any state inspection programs. There's nothing. There's no safety inspection. There's no emissions inspection. I could be wrong. Somebody can call me on that. But last I knew, Oklahoma didn't even have a safety program. So if you're going to do away with the safety portion of the state inspection, why are you keeping the emissions portion? Well, seems like the emission portion is a whole lot less dangerous than the safety part of it. I mean, wouldn't you think that tires and wiper blades and headlights are more important than whether you're polluting or not? So if you're going to do away with part of the program, like you pointed out at the beginning, Bob, it doesn't make sense. I don't know why they would do it, but I do think that the EPA is somewhat involved in keeping the emissions portion. That's my own personal opinion. Nobody told me that, or I never read that anywhere. That's just common sense thinking to me as a mechanic. Now, what do you think about that? Is that, if the state wants to do away with the program, yet they're going to keep the emissions part, who cares about the air pollution? Well, the EPA does. What do you think? I mean, got any comments about that?
I don't know. I was just I was looking at the fees and trying to make the fees add up and trying to figure out, okay, where could this be
you're thinking a money-making deal?
Tax. Because there's no way that they're going to not do this and make extra money. You know what I mean?
You don't say.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Captain Obvious. But, I mean, it's very, very possible. But it makes no sense to get rid of the safety. I was just sitting here thinking, we always use as an example a set of tires. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a pretty responsible person, but I will let my tires go as far as possible because I just hate buying tires. Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's a hassle, sure.
And so a fail stop would be if I had a state inspection coming up, I knew I would have to go buy tires.
That's a motivator right there.
And so you remove that, and unless I'm seeing steel come out of the, which it happened last time.
Or have a blowout.
Yeah, fortunately I didn't have a blowout. But, that, I can just sit here and thinking about the amount of accidents that could happen just so easily.
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you're right on target. And if you think that a little bit further, think about everybody. A lot of people are struggling right now financially. We all know that financially things are with inflation and everything that's going on. Of course, everybody's struggling. Well, if you had a bad tire or a couple of tires and you knew they needed to be replaced, but you just don't have the money right now, if you have the state inspection coming up, you're going to have to find the money and have it done. But without that safety inspection requiring you to do so, think of how many cars are going to be running around now. Not because people are bad people and, shame on you, but because you just sometimes just don't have the money, and they're going to have headlights out, tail lights out, brake lights out, bald tires, wiper blades that are ripped and they don't work when it starts to rain and they can't see that good. Think about all these things that are not going to be motivated by a state inspection program, and you can just get away with it and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, I just don't see the plus side of that at all. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm missing some information, but to me, that's like the most unlikely part of the inspection that you would want to get rid of.
Okay, so can't make this up. What they do is they add a $7.50 fee that they call the inspection program replacement fee,
which is just about what you paid for the safety portion of it.
Okay, so they
paid $15 for the state program emissions.
15.
And then you paid, let's see, 15. I think you paid $10 more for the. I can't remember exactly. I think it's $15.50 for the emissions portion and $10 for the safety portion, which adds up to $25.50, which is the current rate right now for the next couple of months until the program goes away.
So, what do you think? What do you think that a service station walks away with fee-wise for that?
Well, that's another good point. Is people will go, well, service station, I take my car in to get it inspected. They said I need wiper blades, I need a new headlight. Well, maybe you really do, but that is going to cut into the sales portion of the state inspection, which you can take that for what it's worth, whether you look at it like a money-making proposition for the service station or whether you look at it as, hey, you need it and you can't drive it without it because you can't get it inspected. So which is the lesser of two evils? I would say it's probably better to have the program in place and have the service station make money when it comes to you need a headlight, you need a tail light, you need a pair of wiper blades. I mean, that seems fair.
Okay, so here's what's really interesting about it is that $750, the charge for the safety program that they're eliminating, was the one thing that took the most time.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have that.
Now it's gone.
They
Right.
still have. You still have to get an emissions test, no matter what.
Right.
That takes probably less than a quarter of the time.
Probably.
And they're probably the fee that they were making for the safety. They're still actually, the service stations are probably coming out as well as they could come. They could come out before this before this elimination of this safety program, I would bet.
Yes.
And there's probably about $4 or $5 a car that the state of Texas is making. Don't you think? Extra,
Probably.
on
yeah.
top of what they're making today.
Oh, I'm sure, because if you do the math, you do have that $4 to $5 window.
So imagine how many cars are on the road in the state of Texas.
It
crazy
just
money.
bothers me knowing that people are not all bad. And, you think somebody driving around with 4 bald tires and wiper blades and headlights out and stuff. Well, if you drive down the road, I'm sure you can still get a ticket. If you have a headlight out right now, even if your car's inspected and, your plates are, you got insurance, everything's up to date. You're driving down the road with a headlight out, you can get a ticket. You get pulled over and you get a ticket. That's a pretty serious violation if you're at night with one headlight. At least that's my understanding. Why? Because I got pulled over because one headlight was out. And I thought, well, how big of a deal is that? Well, it's a big deal. They want you to have good illumination. So I can see where a police officer would pull over a car with something real obvious like a headlight out, and then discover, the tires are bald and everything. I mean, I can see that happening. And that's the only defense we have against what's going to happen when people they got to choose between gas and food now, some people. What's going to happen when they can't afford to put tires on and they're driving around on bald tires and it rains and they lose control and they slide into somebody that you care about? I mean, that's just an uneasy feeling to me. It just makes no sense to me.
So what happens if your state inspection's due this December before the January 1st new program begins? You wait till the January 1st. Are you under the old or the new?
You're under the old, because if it expires and you didn't pay them their money.
Right.
See, it's all about money. If you didn't pay them their money, because that inspection program funds the DPS retirement program, part of their retirement.
Now you're talking.
So yeah, they want their money.
This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the special Car Corner edition of Prudent Money. 1-877-913-5357. So, not to be ask a dumb question, but I'm sure somebody else got this question too. What exactly is an emissions test?
Okay.
It's about the pollution and
Yeah, emissions test simply is a test, not a real test that they're running like you think, that they're running some kind of a test. What they're doing is tapping into the computer to make sure the computer has no issues. In other words, if you're driving down the road and say, just a real simple example, okay? Real simple as I can ever come up with. You got gas at the gas station and you left the gas cap loose or you didn't put it on at all. Now you drive down the road and within a short time, your check engine light's going to come on. Well, that means that the computer has seen a leak somewhere in the portion of the car we call the evaporative emission system. This is a system that captures all the fumes from the gas tank, runs them into a charcoal canister where they're stored until such time as they can be purged into the engine and burned appropriately at a point where, you won't interfere with the drivability of the car. So knowing that system is under a pressurized containment system, or it can be also tested with vacuum. It either holds pressure or it holds a vacuum. So if you leave the cap off, obviously it's not going to hold pressure or a vacuum. So the computer senses something's wrong, and it will turn the check engine light on. This alters the air pollution. This makes fumes going out your gas cap hole into the air, and they don't want that. So the computer says, we got a problem. Well, the part of the state inspection called the emissions program tests for all of the things that the computer monitors, and it sees either a clean slate or it sees something wrong, a code, a particular problem where it has flashed a computer to alert the driver and turn the check engine light on. You can remove the check engine light on some vehicles. You can turn it off. It has been done so much that they decided you can't just depend on the check engine light. You need to go into the computer and see what the computer's doing. Is it happy? Does it see no codes and everything good? Then you can pass the emissions portion of the test. So they're not really doing a test on anything. They're not testing anything in particular. They're just monitoring the computer to see that everything's cool and that the car's running good.
So the check engine light would or would not be on
It would come on.
if you're in danger of failing the test.
It will come on. It will come on, period. If your check engine light is on, you're not going to pass the test. You're going to have to get it fixed, whatever is causing the problem. I was only using the take out the bulb thing as an example. You know, people think, well, my check engine light's on, I can't pass inspection, I'll just take out the bulb. Well, you're not going to get away with that anymore because that's not how they test it.
Oh.
Too many people did that too many times.
So the admissions tests are required in most major metropolitan areas, which covers pretty much the DFW area, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We have just a couple of minutes left. What are some safety protocols that you can follow yourself to make sure that you've got a safe car?
Good. That's a good question, because now that you're not going to be required by law or the inspection program, everybody usually knows about tires, Bob, right? I mean, you got to look at your tires, make sure they have good tread, like you do.
Yeah, sure.
Make sure everything's good. You got.
I'm looking for rubber to be on it.
Good tires are important. What else is important? Well, the inspection requirements have been for many, many years. It's been years since I had a license for inspections because I used to do them, and haven't done them in 30 years. But the rules are pretty much the same. You need some of the safety things that involve your car would be that the seat belts work, that the wipers are good and not ripped, so that when you turn them on, they're actually going to work instead of waiting until the first rain and turn them on and find out one just flew off in the ditch and scratching your windshield and, you can't see anything. That's a pretty big safety factor. Some of the other things you might consider is the emergency brake. Always make sure your emergency brake works. If it doesn't work, get it fixed. And while you're at it, the brakes, they're pretty important at 80 miles an hour. So you want to make sure that your brake pads are good. Then you have other less likely things that we can talk about next week. But there's about 18 different items.
This is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.